Alrighty, alrighty. Haha, here we go. We'll go ahead and get started in just a minute or two here. Hope everybody is doing okay, doing well. It's great to do another live session. Just did one the other day and I wanted to do another one. And this one's gonna be a little more intentional. I'm gonna try to do the best that I can to stay on topic. We'll see how that goes. Give me just a second here. I'm just pulling up some information that I need to be able to reference here as we get going. Red Star Wraith. Hey man, by the way, I got your voicemail the other day. I apologize that I didn't get back with you. I will it's been busy. I will try to call you back soon. Maybe even tomorrow if you're free. I apologize. Great to see you. How do they sound? Yeah. So let me back up. I don't want to make the assumption that everybody knows what I'm going to be talking about. Spatial Audio is a manufacturer of open baffle loudspeakers here in the United States. It is ran by a gentleman by the name of Clayton Shaw, and he is the designer of their products. I recently did a review of their Spatial Audio M3 Sapphire. Okay. And prior to that, I reviewed the original M3, the Spatial Audio M3. And so he came down with his friend Mark. I had an opportunity to meet both Mark for the first time and obviously see Clayton again. And they brought some goodies. And I'm so thrilled and excited because when I dropped the review of the M3 Sapphires, one of the most popular questions that I was getting in that review, and has been one of the most popular questions since then, is Ron, X series, X5s, X3s, make it happen. Make it happen. And so Clayton did. I mentioned it to him a number of times, like, dude, it's pretty clear that these guys want to know my take on the X series and do some comparisons. And he made it happen. So he brought down the X5s. Okay. So we have spent now hours, hours listening to these, and not just listening to these, but doing some comparisons of the X5s versus everything that we have in house. And that includes speakers that are at the same price point of the X5s and then under. So as an example, I got some Revels in, and they are the F226. I always forget the models. So it's 226BE. Pardon me. So Revel Performa BE. It is the F226BE. They're in white and thin tower. It's got two 6.5-inch aluminum composite drivers, and then it's got I want to say a 5.25 mid range, and then it has a beryllium tweeter. Now these are $3,500 each. Okay, so $7,000. You're at $7,000, and so we were listening to those. We were also listening to the Klipsch Heresies, which was really fun, and that was kind of a cool experience. It's the first time ever hearing a heresy for me. We obviously listened to the M3 Sapphires, and we had let me think here, the Concepts on deck as well. So we had both the Q Acoustics Concept 500s and the 300s, and so we were just kind of cycling through all these speakers, and I was, for the most part, able to sit in the driver's seat the entire time and start trying to get my finger on the pulse of what's going on with all these speakers. It was the first time hearing the Revels, and it was the first time hearing the Heresies, and it was first time hearing the X5s. Um, I heard them once at a show, and it was like a prototype. It was long ago, and long ago when we had audio shows. You guys remember that? In any event, we were listening to the Revels, and I'm just going to be factual in what I say. This is how this actually went down. No hyperbole, no nonsense. We were playing this track, and I should have brought it up just so we can. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I have this reference track that I always listen to, and it's upright bass, and it's just upright bass, and it's really cool. It's like this really, he's like using the bow to like hit the strings as he's playing. It's like do 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 do, and then they do this cool reverb, hard pan reverb on the opposite side of where the upright bass is, and you just get these cool like effects, and then they're changing the positioning of the upright, and we're doing all of we're listening to these things, and we started with the Revels, right? So $7,000 for these speakers, and we were all just sitting there going, "Yeah, that's nice. You know, that's a nice sound." And the prior night, so this was this morning. The prior night, we had already listened to the Heresies, and that was interesting as well. All of us, me, Clayton, and Mark, all really appreciated mid range and beyond on the Heresy. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was kind of worried that we were going to end up with like maybe a bright speaker or something that just sounded a bit, hornish, if you will, but not in a good way. And so far, that hasn't been the case. So at least, from what I can tell, short listening sessions, I actually was digging it. Now, as we get into mid bass and bass on the Heresies, and the same thing applies for pretty much every speaker we're going to be talking about, except for the X5s, is clearly with the Heresies, you could hear the box. And that's not a knock against the Heresy, but you could clearly hear this kind of vintage type of a kind of like a mid bass bloom that's kind of exciting, the box resonating and kind of waking up the walls. And it was very obvious. It was like that we can identify exactly what this is and where it's coming from. Another thing that's interesting is with the Heresies, and you guys know this, is they have a built-in platform, and so they're made to be sitting on the ground, and so they're very low to the ground, and they have a slight tilt. Right now, that does actually have some pros and some cons, and with almost every single speaker design out there, there's going to be trade-offs. Okay, and I think that we have to identify, well, what are those? Like, what are the trade-offs? Well, for one, you're minimizing the floor bounce effect because the woofer is so close to the ground. So I think they call it the Allison effect or something. But needless to say, the woofer is so close to the ground that you're not getting like a huge effect of the floor bounce. So that's not really necessarily a big problem or an issue. So that's a pro. Another pro would be with it being close to the ground, which is a boundary. So you're getting boundary reinforcement from the floor. That might help with exciting some lower frequencies, some lower notes, sound pressure, right? And combined by the fact that if you are, placing these, somebody's asking for the reference track, so I will find it. Let me finish this thought, Levette, and I'll get to you. With the Heresy 4, if you have it back up against a wall, you have a port on the back, and it's the first time that we've seen a port used on the Heresy. It's in the back, and it's low. So now we have the combination of boundary effect of the floor, and then if it's closer to the wall, then you're going to have boundary effects to the wall. And so that might help with some additional heft and weight. I didn't hear much deep bass come out of the Heresy where I have them placed. That's not a knock against them. That is the fact, and you guys know this, is that I'm a bit OCD and a bit crazy about getting speakers way out on the floor. And they were about 5 feet out, 5 or 6 feet at least. I forget exactly where I have the tape right now. I think it's closer to 6 feet. But we were listening to the Heresy, and we all kind of nodded in agreement that from mid-band and beyond, not much to complain about. It's a fun sounding loudspeaker, and it really is kind of a, you think the heritage line. What does that mean? Well, if it means that we're paying respect to what is before, where things came from, then I think that they were successful in the design, because what I hear in that is a very vintage, kind of a retro type of a sound. And that's going to be a fun speaker. So let me get this track to you. Give me 2 seconds. Let me find it. Give me one moment here. I should be able to find this relatively quickly. I hope. We'll see. Rune has been acting up for me lately. None of my album art loads anymore. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you this, and then come on, Canon. I'll type it in the thing here. That ain't going to work. That was a terrible idea. It's like amateur hour here at New Record Day. Okay, so the artist is Anad Vasilic, I want to say. Nad Vasilic. Okay, hold on. Let me get this out here. Artist. I was clearly prepared for this. Sorry about this, guys. And the album is Bass Room. You guys all need to check out this album, just so you know. We were just talking about it earlier. So if you're just joining us, welcome aboard. But the album is Bass Room, and the track is Bass Drops. There you go. Check that out. Bookmark it. Try it out on your system. And so, heard the Heresies last night, and then this morning, as I was waiting for Clayton and Mark to come on over because they were staying at a hotel, I got the Revels out, and I started playing more stuff, from the same artist. And there was this track, guys, that it's got this piano playing, right? And the way that this particular artist is playing the piano is kind of interesting. It's like they're actually smacking the keys. They're just like hammering on these certain notes. It's like bam, bam, bam. And it's percussive. Pianos are percussive instruments. And we were listening to this on these Revels, which are $7,000. And I remember, at that time, with that being the starting point, the starting speaker, we we're all like, oh, that sounds nice. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, this is cool. This is a cool track. And we're all kind of, working through this. And I thought in that moment, let me pause this. So I pause the song halfway through, and then I pull out the Revels and I put up the X5s. Okay. I had to change the volume to compensate for a sensitivity change. The sensitivity of the Spatial Audio X5 is 97 dB. Okay. It's important to understand that design. You have this air motion tweeter up top that is in a waveguide, so you have controlled directivity working to your advantage. We'll talk about the air motion tweeter in a minute. And then we have a paper cone, 12-inch cast dipole mid-range right below it. Okay, so this is covering the heart of mid-band and beyond. Like 100, I think it's like 100 hertz and beyond, somewhere around there. Don't quote me on that. I'll find out the facts. It doesn't matter. That is basically running the vast majority of the show. Below that, we have a 12-inch subwoofer that is powered by a plate amp that is installed on the back of the X5. So ultimately, it's a three-way. I mean, any way you shake it, we're dealing with ultimately like a three-way type of a loudspeaker system. And dudes, listen to me carefully. When we played this same track with this piano, percussive piano that I was just talking about on the X5s, I'm going to say some stuff that I've never said on this channel ever. In 8 years, this is the first time. I have never heard a piano sound as real as I did as on the X5s. It went from, "Oh, that's a nice track," to, "Holy what?" It it was so insane that we were all, I mean, I was running the show, I was pressing play, so I knew it was the same track, but they were like, "Did you change track? Like, did you change tracks? Like, what's going on here?" I mean, it was it was shocking to all of us to do this comparison back to back and to hear this piano come to life in a way that when this guy was hammering on these keys, the impact that that had, the dynamics that that had, that percussive bam, it was startling. It was actually kind of freaking me out. I'm like, how did we go from warm milk to this? And I'm not, well, I am, yeah, no, I am saying that. How did we go from warm milk to safe? Like, oh, that's a nice piano, to there's a freaking piano in here. And on top of it, because that was such a huge shift, like a huge difference, then we started working backwards and we're like, let's play that bass track that I just scroll up, that bass track. Let's play that on both the X5s and these Revels. And so we did. Guys, I'm going to be doing sound clips with commentary tomorrow, and I'm going to be playing these tracks so you know that I'm not full of it. You're going to hear it because I'm going to be pulling out Randy. The difference is night and day. It is insane the amount of information that that X5 is saying, here you go, Ronnie boy, here you go. The amount of information that it is giving to you is unbelievable. I'll take it a step further and I'll say something else that I've never said on this channel. After Clayton and Mark left last night, I started listening to the X5s at low volume. It was getting late. I still wanted to listen. Sarah was in bed. That speaker, the X5, it is the best sounding loudspeaker that I have ever spent time with, heard, reviewed, you name it, ever. Name anything, any show that I've ever heard at low volumes. The amount of information it is able to bring to the table, and the fact that you now have a sub that you can turn up at low volumes, so you're lifting up the bass a bit. This is the same thing that we would see in loudness buttons back in the day. That was made for low level listening because the human hearing below a certain threshold of decibels has a hard time discerning bass and top end. Mid range, that's fine. You can still hear that, but it gets difficult to hear the bass and the top end extension and details. And last night I turned it down and I was running it off these little tube amps right here, EL84s. Guys, that is, I've been asked so many times, like, hey, like low level listening, like what, I'm gonna make this a bold statement. Good luck, Chuck, finding a speaker that rivals this at low level listening. It's a game over situation. I don't think you're gonna find it. I mean, I've heard a lot of freaking speakers, and low level listening is one of those things that I do quite often, and I do it a lot nowadays. I cannot believe the amount of information that I was still able to get out of those speakers with the volume down low, really low. Like we're talking everybody's asleep kind of low. And I'm just in here going, uh, all of the information is still here. And that is the truth. It's call it I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and there'll be guys say, oh, it's just hyperbole and Clayton's paying you money. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, it's not one of those situations. Clayton has had so many folks saying, you got to get the X. You got to get the X series over to Ron. And he finally did it. And when yeah, EL84s, Brock, I'm right there with you, my friend. The detail, the information that the X is bringing to the table, the X5 is bringing to the table will jack you up in a way that you have not been jacked up. Mark my words. I'm putting my reputation on the line. You will not find anything that plays a piano or horns quite like those speakers. It's freaking me out how well, I can't quite process. It's like you know what it is? It's the difference of this is the difference. It's like watching a movie at home on maybe not your TV because your TV is probably better than mine. On my TV, which is 10 years old, or going to IMAX. It's that type of oh, so you wanted to know what a piano actually sounds like. You want to know what a saxophone actually sounds like. You wanted to know what a trumpet actually sounds like. You want to hear that bite and that it is what the crud. And knowing that Clayton is not some ridiculous monkey that doesn't know how to engineer a loudspeaker, I can promise you that when I go to measure it, we're not going to see something funky of, well, it is 16 dB high at 2K. No, we're not going to see that. We won't see that. It's the amount of detailed information that I'm hearing out of that loudspeaker is second to none. This is the speaker for you guys out there that, let's break it down. You love horns. You love horns. But what you don't love about pretty much every single horn or anything with a waveguide on this planet is you either have this or you have this combined with a box and bass that is driving you crazy because it just sounds like well farts. Guess what? The X5 solves every single one of those problems because you have high sensitivity, 97 dB high sensitivity. You could run 300 Bs on these. Whatever question you have about any amplifier that you're thinking about running with the X series, the answer is yes before you even tell me what amp you have. I'm not kidding when I say that. Dude, 15 watts per channel. I had these things so loud and they were so clean. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. It's been so long since I've had such a high sensitivity platform to work with. And so I was like, oh, I don't have it here, but I'm like trying to grab something less than, like I have this little, I think it's like 10 watts or 9-watt chip amp that Folsom sent over. It's the same style chip amp that I heard when I was at Danny's. So I threw that in the rig. Guess what? Crazy, crazy dynamics, same loudness, and just what the heck? You could throw 300 Bs on these. You could throw any flea watt 2-3 watt amp on these, and you would be able to, you literally could shake the walls. You could remodel, turn up the volume, and that wall, we didn't need that, honey. That's now gone. But even more than that, what I was noticing, and I don't listen all that loud, guys. I'll usually get to around 85. That's my threshold. That's as high as I personally want to be listening. But what I noticed is even when I started to push it, like how far can I get this thing? And it was just like, that's all you got, Ron? Come at me, bro. What I noticed is it never seemed to reach that point where the speaker is falling apart, that something is now, oh, that doesn't sound as clear as it did before. And so here we have the speaker that I've already said, it is the best sounding loudspeaker that I've had at low volumes, in terms of detail retrieval, giving you the entire performance. You have that down low, and then as you raise it, it's almost as if all of that realism and the clarity, the lack of distortion, it just goes up and it just keeps going up. And it's not like it folds over or starts to break or it starts to get brittle. It's like, this is just getting louder and it's still just as crystal clear as it was. And when we were listening to, a lot of these tracks that I was talking about, this percussive piano and then this other album that you guys need to check out, that Bass Room album that I mentioned in the chat there earlier, just scroll up if you didn't see it. Mind blowing how unbelievably detailed it was. And then you throw in the fact that paper cone, dipole, paper cone woofers, there is a texture and a tone that you hear that you guys will hear it tomorrow when I get Randy in the room and you're going to hear it. This is going to be a defining moment. I promise you, because there is such a wide margin of what those are doing compared to literally every speaker that we put up against them. You guys, I promise you, you're going to hear something that you're going to go, that is very different. That there is a realism to that. It's just, you can't miss it. And, for me, I think that the hardest thing about this review is it's going to be easy to describe how it sounds. It's going to be easy to walk you guys through the differences between the X series and then the Sapphires. That part is going to be simple. I feel like I could probably do that tonight. What's going to be hard is, okay, Ron, well, which one is better? Which one is better? And I think that the conversation that we are ultimately going to need to have is, what are you looking for? What do you want out of a hi-fi system? Because I admit, after hearing the X series, it made me realize that where I've thought so many speakers, they get to the finish line of how a trumpet is supposed to really sound in the recording, like, oh, I'm finally hearing the way that the trumpet is supposed to sound. The X5s knock on the door and they say, guess what, honey? We're not done yet. Because I'm telling you guys, this level of detailed information, when it is presented to you, I think that it could come down to, what flavor of hi-fi ice cream do you like? And are you sure that you really want to hear what a piano actually sounds like in your room? Are you positive that's that's what you're going for? Because the X5s, they're not going to apologize. They're not going to apologize for what they are, which is this micro detail machine. It's like, I'm going to give you the tone of the saxophone, the tone of the trumpet. I'm going to give you the velocity and the punch and the bite that it actually has, to the point where it's as if the guy is in the room playing it. It's as if that is happening. It's not as if that is now going through a speaker that is playing it, but also saying, let me make this safe for you. I think that's what it is, because even when I listen to the Sapphires, my babies, dude, I love those Sapphires. They are unbelievable speakers. What the X5s are quickly teaching me is, where I thought maybe this was giving me the entire picture for what it is, a like for like situation. No, it's not. It's not. It's not giving me an exact imprint of, this is what that trumpet actually would sound like. And the X5 is saying, this is it. This is it. And then we have to decide, well, is that what you want? When it comes to that level of precision, detail, dynamics, everything that is coming with that, is it possible to have too much of a good thing? And that is going to be the wrestle. That is going to be my wrestle in this is, will I ever enter listening fatigue? Will I ever get to a point where I'm like, okay, enough is enough. Maybe a little bit of a safer direction is better off for me. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, because right now I'm just sitting here going, I cannot believe the detailed information that I'm pulling out of this speaker. It's mind numbing. And then thinking about a lot of you guys uh, that love horns and you love that presence that you have in horns, and you don't love this, which I don't either. And you're sitting there going, Ron, I want that dipole bass that you keep talking about, that open baffle dynamic bass. Guys, this is the speaker you need to be hearing. Like, this is it. This might be the ultimate, like the world's best horn style presentation. If there's something better out there, it's $1 million, and I haven't heard it. It's $100,000 and I haven't heard it. It's not this. This is a different animal. And the speaker looks beautiful. I mean, it's the best way I can describe the baffle. It looks like you have plywood, not the most attractive thing on the planet, and then you have it on its side where you have all these, like, shorter, small cuts. It's like that all the way across the baffle. And it's not plywood, to be clear. It's not that. I always forget the name of this, and Clayton's gonna be like, Ron, I've told you like a million times the name of this stuff. But you know what? Here we go. Ultralam. It's a material from Germany. It's called Ultralam. If you guys go to Spatial Audio and just look up the X series speakers, you'll see it is stunning to look at this stuff in person. And it's extremely dense. It's very hard. It's extremely rigid. And whew, guys, we listened to the Revels. We listened to the X5s. We started going through, putting every speaker through its paces, and we tried the concepts. I'm going to be sweating through the Revel review knowing that right off the bat, I think that in terms of mid bass and bass, I much prefer what those Concept 500s are doing. I think it just sounds I don't think, I know it's breathing easier, and those Revels, man, I mean, that's another $1,000, from those Concept 500s. And I would say that from mid-band and beyond, there's more similarities between those speakers than there are differences between them. They both did a fine job. And I know this for a fact, and this was one of the things that I wanted to point out in this video tonight, is I know for a fact that when I go to measure, I've already measured the Concepts. I know exactly how to measure. They're a great measuring loudspeaker. And when I go to do the Revels, guess what? They're going to be a great measuring loudspeaker. When I go to measure the Spatial Audio X5s, they're going to measure great. I know they are. There's no question. But this was kind of breaking my brain. We went out for barbecue today and we we're chatting about this, and I was like, I'm kind of stuck in that. Here we have Harman and this legacy that Harman has, and rightfully so. One of the best facilities on the planet when it comes to, anechoic measurements and, being able to provide us with a properly engineered loudspeaker. And I'm listening to these Revels. I'm listening to the Concepts. I'm going back and forth on the bass. I think I do prefer the bass on the Concepts, but as I'm listening to both of these loudspeakers with this same piano track, I'm sitting there going, I'd bet you a box of donuts that these two speakers are going to measure very similar in a lot of ways. We're going to have a clean spectral decay, which we know to be true with the Q Acoustic Concepts. It's going to be true with the Revels. We're going to take a look at that, and we're going to see the exact same trends that we see in the X5. And the question that I was struggling with is, so which of these measurements that we're taking a look at is going to help me understand the night and day difference of how realistic instruments actually sound with the X5 versus the Revel versus the Concept? It's going to be a struggle, and I think that it's going to come down to what I'm already kind of alluding to, and this is going to be the wrestle through this review process, is what do you want? Like, think it through. Do you really want to know what a saxophone actually sounds like in your listening room? Do you want Do you want that recording to just give it to you and not apologize? Like you asked for it, man. Smack right upside the head. Like this is what this actually sounds like. And when you hear it, it is it quite frankly was jarring for me. I was like, I can't believe the difference in these two speakers that, I respect the Concept 500s and I love them to death. And actually both Clayton and Mark were complimentary of that speaker. They're like, dude, that first of all, let's get this part right. They're freaking gorgeous. And they're innovative in that they're controlling so many resonances in the boxes. But even still, the difference going from those to that X5 and hearing what sounds like an actual person playing the instrument in the room, it was night and day. It was night and day. So I gotta tell you guys, that is the point of tonight's live chat. I'm gonna take a break from that. I'm gonna answer some questions, but officially the X5s are in house here at New Record Day, and I'm gonna begin the review process immediately. I'm gonna pull them front in line, and I'm gonna start tomorrow. I'm gonna do sound clips with commentary tomorrow with Randy on the X5s because you guys need to hear what I'm hearing. And I'm hoping that people take the time to watch this live chat after it, after I'm done with it and it's just out there for the public. I hope you hear me that I say these comparisons are night and day. And it's enough that I do believe with the sound clips, you will clearly hear what I'm rambling about. There will be no question. It won't be like, well, Ron, are you sure about it? No, you will be sure about it. You won't have to even hear my words anymore. You'll put on your headphones and you will say, okay, this is a big deal. So that is the earliest of early impressions of the X5. Just to cover it again, high sensitivity, 97 dB sensitivity. We have ultimately a three-way type of a loudspeaker system. It is the complete package. You're going to get flat down to 20. No problem about that. No issues with that. The sub sounds insane. You're able to control the sub. There's just one single dial on the back. It's just volume. And you just it's already been set perfect integration with the rest of the drivers. All you do is just how much or how little bass do you want? And so I'll cover that in details when I get to the review. Paper cone drivers, that 12-inch mid-range, you're getting all of the texture and tone that you want out of mid-bass and bass. From the heart of mid-band and beyond, it just sounds as crystal clear as anything that you could ever imagine. When you get into that AMT tweeter, and this will be my final thoughts, you guys are all nervous, and I know you are because I was nervous of Ron doesn't like AMTs. That's a true statement. I have a hard time with air motion tweeters. And the reason why I have issues with air motion tweeters is I hear them. I literally hear the device. I hear the tweeter. That's not a good thing when you're working so hard to get the speaker to disappear. If you keep hearing, close your eyes and you have 90% of a performance, and then you have two tweeters tweeting away and you're hearing it coming from that location, that for me is such a distraction that I can't do it. And there has been a couple of designs that have been able to wrestle that and figure it out. Golden Ear Technology from Sandy Gross, he had some that I liked quite a bit and I didn't notice it as much with his designs. I was like, you know what? He seems to know what he's doing with these. But I've been burned by so many of these stupid AMTs that I was like, Clayton, you know this about me. And he does know this about me, that if they call attention to themselves, that is exactly what I'm going to say in the review. Now, the air motion tweeter inside the X5 is not the same air motion tweeter that I have been exposed to up to this point. It's not the same type of a machine. And what I mean by that, this isn't me just blowing smoke. This is a factual statement. A lot of the AMTs that I've heard are cheap. And I mean that literally they're inexpensive. They're just thrown into a box and this is what we got. They're probably 20 to 30 bucks, $40. The AMT that is inside of the X5 is north of 500 bucks after the modifications that Clayton is doing. Just that one air motion tweeter is that much. Okay. That is how much is going into just that before we even put it into the dang speaker. Like, you already have that. Now, money doesn't always equal good quality, but smart engineering often does. What does that mean? What it means is that Clayton heard some of the stuff that I talk about with air motion tweeters, and he traced it and he figured it out. And a lot of it had to do with the back cup. You have a shallow back cup on air motion tweeters, and air motion tweeters are squeezing air, and you've got stuff hitting up against that back cup. That's entirely possible. That's exactly what you're hearing. And what Clayton did is he ditched it. So he takes off that back cup, and what he did is he made his own custom back that then bolts on to the back of that air motion tweeter, and he has a piece of felt. Now, what we have, like the NX Audicas, is a truly open baffle dipole speaker from top to bottom. It is open on both sides. It's brilliant. And so the fact that he did that, and he didn't do that for me. It's not like, oh, well, I'm bringing this over to Ron's. I got to fit. No, like when he was engineering the dang speaker, before we were even talking about the Sapphire review or anything, this was something that he did. He's like, I know what to do to make this thing better. Right out of the gate, I don't hear the tweeters calling attention to themselves. I haven't spent enough time to find out if there's some tracks out there where it might happen. And I'm so lost in how much micro detail that I am being given that I'm having a hard time even comprehending anything but that. It's almost as if I'm jumping into, I'm jumping into, a lake that is frozen, and I'm like in shock of like, wow, holy smokes. I'm not even at a point where I can start to unravel some of the smaller details and the finer things like, hey, are there some tracks where these tweeters might call attention to themselves? So far, so good. I haven't heard anything that I'm like, and there it is. There's that dumb air motion tweeter. I haven't heard it. And that's the honest to goodness truth. I have maybe in total 3 hours on them. So not much at all. I'm going to be putting these through their paces, and I'm going to be trying everything that I can to see if I can get those air motion tweeters to misbehave. And if they do, then I will tell you that there's some tracks that they misbehave. But as of right now, guys, I am shell shocked. And you will hear it. So you might be saying, Ron, you're starting to sound like a spatial audio fanboy. And maybe I am. Maybe that's a fair statement to make. But I would say this. You know what I'm a fanboy of? I'm a fanboy of music that lets go. I'm a fanboy of hearing texture and tone in resolution and bass that most audiophiles, they think they've heard and they haven't heard. And when they do, this isn't me being high and mighty gatekeeping. I don't want to come across as like some snobbery guy. What I'm telling you is that when you are exposed to open baffle done right, and you hear the texture and tone and bass that you've been missing out on, it will literally change the way you think about hi-fi. It will change the way that you think about subwoofers, the way that you think about bass, the way that bass sounds inside of your room. And with these, they do that. It is unbelievable. And, when we start talking about resonances and box colorations and all these things that pop up in a box, it's like you hear it. Oh, when you hear what I just described and then you go back, it kind of ruins you because you always hear it, you always notice it instant. It takes like a half a second. You're like, yeah, and there's a box. That's the sound of a box. I thought that was the sound of bass. but it's not. It's actually the sound of sound pressure inside of a box saying, I want to get out of here. And guess what Open Baffle does? It says, you can get out of here. Go and be free. So, yes, I do love everything that I've heard from Spatial Audio. And the X5s are no different. I love the way these speakers sound right out of the gate. It's a different animal than the Sapphire. And what I'm hoping that I can do at this point, knowing that I like both, I think both of these are fantastic. I think that I'll be able to sleep at night when it's all said and done, that I get the right speaker into the right home, that I can communicate the differences well enough that it is very clear who belongs in the Sapphire camp, who belongs in the X series camp, and why. So that's what I'm going to be working on starting tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to do sound clips with commentary. I'm going to pull out Randy into the room. We are going to check out the X5s and we're going to have a blast. And you guys, and I'm going to do some comparisons. I'm going to do some, I don't give a rip. You guys need to, because you need to hear in context, this is what this speaker sounds like. Now let's hear the X. You need to hear this change in the shift that we were hearing where it's like, you gotta frickin' be kidding me. I mean, all of that information that we're hearing in the X, when you go back to the other speaker, it's as if it was never there. It's as if, where did that go? Ron, is this a different track? I mean, it's like that. So that was the point of the show tonight, guys. I want to get on here. Let me go ahead and just scroll up real quick. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I want to just make sure that I'm answering any specific questions. And by all means, as this video lives, by the way, Cheap Audio Man, congratulations on 20K. Thank you for the super chat. If you're still in here, bro, you're the best, dude. You're the best. I want to see if there's any specific questions in here. So just give me a second here while I read this. But as this lives, come bring me your questions about the Sapphires. Bring me your questions about the X5s. Let me know what you need to know, because this is where, as a community, we can actually build this together and we can make the review successful in that I'm covering as many, I am turning over as many stones as possible. And that's where I need your guys' help. So if there's something specific that you need me to dive into and figure out, let me know. That's why I did this video tonight. And then again, just to deal with, and I'm still going to get the comments. They're still going to come up. It's just the way that people are. And I understand that, but I'm not being paid. There is nothing like that going on here with these reviews. Clayton knew that there was a need to get an X5 or an X3 in my hands, and he made it happen. He's like, Ron, I just happened to have this pair that came back. There was some damage in shipping. We wanted to get this out to you. Come out for a couple of days, hang out with you guys, see the kids, see Sarah, go out for some barbecue, and we're headed home, and that was it. And so, guys, I'm stoked. I am stoked. So I'm just going through here. Okay, here we go. We got a question. What's the dust game like with open baffles? Do they take a little extra care and maintenance to keep good working order compared to a typical box speaker? This is a fantastic question. When you're buying a speaker through, let's just say you decide to go with the Sapphires or an X series, Clayton gives you these giant bags. Do not throw those away, because what you're going to want to do is that when you are not listening to them, just take this. It's like a giant bag that just goes slip right back over it. Dust, be gone. No problem. So just a little life hack there. You're thinking, oh yeah, this is just the bag that it comes in. I'm going to take this and put it in the box and forget about it. And I'm going to question, why is there so much dust on my speakers? Don't do that. Throw the bag over it when you're not listening to the speaker. And that is open baffle maintenance right there. Simple as that. All right, let's see here. I'm seeing if there's anything specific to the X series. Here we go. John, by the way, good to see you, John. Or Not good to see. Good to hear from you, John. The Spatial X5s must be amazing. I don't think I've ever heard you been so excited and passionate about a speaker like this. Yeah, John, it's a crazy experience. I've never heard a speaker doing what these are doing. It's really something else. It's pretty insane. So, like I said, it's going to be my job to help navigate what does this all mean, and is this a sound that you actually want? And I think that's going to be the wrestle is, are you sure you really want all that detailed information? Are you positive? And I need to find out whether or not I'm going to be dealing with listening fatigue. So yeah. Yep. You can get real listening. Yeah. So here's somebody that's saying, this is a good point. I'm a drummer and saxophonist. You can get listening fatigue from real instruments. And that is totally true. I've played guitar for many years, and it's like I crank up my tube amp, and it's like after a little while, it's like, okay, I'm done. So again, this goes back to the point that I'm trying to make is be careful what you ask for. Are you sure that's what you're going for? Do you want to hear all of that clarity and detail retrieval? And how far can I make it without any kind of like fatigue? That's going to be the question that I'm going to be searching to answer as I dive into this. So I'm excited. Um, how did my beautiful tube amplifiers do? They did amazing, John. It was insane. We had those EL84s on those things, and it was bananas. Yeah. Yeah, it was insane. Glad to hear your excitement with the X5s and looking forward to the clips and reviews. You got it. Thank you, Hobbs. I appreciate that, my friend. Yeah, I'm going to get started. I mean, these have to come as close to the front of the line as possible, so I at least start the process and get some sound clips out there and start talking about these things. Yeah. The percussive piano track. I knew somebody was going to ask that. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. Give me just a moment. What I was saying earlier is Rune has been acting up on me, and I don't have any artwork for Rune, and that can make life a little interesting when you're trying to find stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a pain. Here we go, discography, sort by release dates. Let's see if I can find it in here, guys. Okay. There's no way. This is going to take me a little while to. This is an interesting one. Hold on. It's going to take a second to type out, so bear with me, guys. Push the voce. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Track. That is, I probably spelled that wrong. But if you look up Nanad Vasilic, it is off of interesting. I'll do this again. Nanad Vasilic is the artist. You guys should play this honestly tonight on your systems and play that track. It's the second track on the album. Volume 1 is the album. Let's just see if I can pull this off. Come on, Canon. You can. Oh, maybe if I lower my brightness, I think that would help. Okay, that's it. That is the track right there. So that's what it looks like. And my images just showed up, which is great. So it made it a lot easier to find this. So volume 1, that is the actual album. Find that track, guys, and play it on your systems tonight. Listen to that percussive piano. You'll hear it. There's a couple of hits at the very beginning. And if that does not jump out and startle you and sound like an actual piano, if it sounds like a toy piano, and it starts to bother you that it sounds like a toy piano, then start saving your pennies because I see an X5 in your future. Because dudes, my dudes, I haven't I've never heard brass, specifically brass, anything brass or pianos being percussive. I've never heard anything like what this is doing. This is like a completely different show. So, Joey G, get over here, bro, as soon as possible. And no, vinyl does not suck. Get over here. You need to hear these things. They're going to rip your head off. You're not even going to believe it. But it's completely insane. Um, yeah. Okay. Oh, John Evans. Hey, John, good to see you. He says, I love my X5s. I look forward to hearing the comparison with the M3 that on Randy. So yeah, we're gonna do that. I'm gonna have my sapphires up there, and you guys will hear what that sounds like compared to the X series. We're gonna do some comparisons. As far as I'm concerned, I've just got to be able to walk you guys through which speaker belongs in which home. If you're gonna go in either one of these directions, I want to make sure that I'm able to help you guys navigate this because they are different animals and they do sound different. So yeah. All right, guys. We're just an hour in. I had to steer the course, keep this about the spatials, keep it about the X5s. I'm sorry that I'm missing some of your more general questions. That's not what this live chat was about. I promise you we'll do a Q&A here soon where you guys know me. I'll answer all of your questions. But in any event, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And as this lives on the YouTube page, ask me more questions about the X5s. Let me find out. You tell me what you want me to find out and investigate, and I will. So I appreciate you all. And yeah, we'll see you guys. I'm going to go listen to the X5s. We'll see you guys in the next video.